Welcome to the Michigan Runner Show. Join us each time as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great sport.
We have a big story to tell today, and it's 50 years of the New Year's Eve family fun run and walk. Most people call it the Belle Isle Run, with founding race director Jeannie Bocci. 50 years! You must have been 3 when you started it. How on earth did the race begin?
Because Jerry was, after he stopped running and started competitively race walking, he made the '68 Olympic team trials. And during those trials, we met so many other young men who were walking, and Guts Clufford was still in Detroit, but he made the Olympic team that year to go to Mexico. And then a couple years later, I finally had my first child on 1/1/70. And they were coming for New Year's Eve to celebrate, but also to stay for our first child's birthday. I said, what are we gonna do? We don't go to the bars and have parties. And I said, well, let's just have a race. So it was Jerry's idea to have a handicap race. And so I asked the parents of the girls I was coaching from Lincoln Park if they could come over on New Year's Eve. We had it at 8 o'clock at night, and it was a 2-mile out and back. So at the 2-mile mark, you either got, it was erg back there, it was not Gatorade, or the adult got a little sip of champagne at the 2-mile mark. And then we came back to my house, and I had spaghetti for everybody, and Jerry made, my girlfriend the first year made fruitcakes. So we got a fruitcake if we got the top 10. Well, yeah, there was probably 12 of us racing, maybe 16. But the guys thought it was a fun thing because with the handicap race, we got to start ahead of them. And we weren't going to let them beat us either. So, and that's how the race actually started. It started the night before he was going to turn 1. So it was 12/31 of 1970 that started the race.
And where was it the first year or two? It wasn't on Belle Isle at the beginning, right?
First 6 years was at Windmill Point Park. Okay. And because it's a private resident area, the mayor thought that that was too many cars in their parking lot. And so I went to the city of Detroit in 1977. And Leon Atchison, who was head of the Detroit Parks and Recreation, welcomed me with open arms. The nicest gentleman I've ever known. He should have been our president. And he says, yeah, you can race on Belle Isle. So we raced on Belle Isle that year, and we didn't have any place to hold it. We worked out of the van with registration, and I passed maps out to my house, and we had 250 people come back here on Grayton for spaghetti dinner. And some of my running friends, Gary Funt, who's actually still alive but not running, or he ran to our store. I think it was called Dixie, or it wasn't Kroger's back then, 4 times that night to get more pasta noodles. I had enough sauce. But in those days, Jerry would take wood plaques. He's got a saw down there. And he would then have a stencil that said New Year's Eve Family Fun Run. And so the top X amount of people, men and women, and then race walking divisions.
Yeah. And it was originally 4 miles?
Well, it was a 4-mile race because Windmill Point Drive is 1 mile out, 1 mile back. Ideal. So that's why it was a 4. But just so you know, I wasn't the only 4-mile race, because when Ed Kozlov started the St. Patty's Day race, that was a 4-mile race.
Okay. That's right.
Yes, I know it was, because that was my idea. He went along with my 4-miler. And then, of course, my co-race director, John Scott, bless his heart, many years ago says, you know, everybody's doing meters. We have to switch this to 5K. Oh, and you can't believe how many of the older runners came that first year. Why are we doing a 5K? It was fun doing. Nobody has a 4-mile race, but it is a 5K, so we'll have to stick with it.
I remember when that happened, and I was kind of surprised, like, hey, 4 miles is cool. Everybody doesn't have to be the same. What's going on here? Do you know why you were pushed to change it to 5K?
The younger runners, they were all doing 5Ks and 10Ks and wanted times. Okay. And my 4-mile was certified, but we did get the course certified on Belle Isle, so it is a certified 5K. We also have a 20K there. We have a marathon certified on Belle Isle. One
of the hallmarks of the race is kids have their own race and they get trophies.
When the children started coming to the race, actually it was when we had on Windmill Point the second year, when I was training with the gentleman that I said, the other professionals, in the morning, they suggested, can their children, I only had one baby then, and I said, yeah, that would be great. So one did roller blades, or roller skates, they weren't blades, and so I said, well, we have to have something for the children. So everybody got, back then, was a plaque for the children, and then I said, you know, let's just do trophies the next year. And that was a big thing. Actually, the year on Belle Isle, when we had over the year that I think it was the year after they came back here, because we were at Max Plunt, who owned Stahl's Bakery, donated, and all the children, when they finished, got a loaf of bread. Oh, wow. And they were excited, though. And he says, look at how it was really neat to see that. And since then, we've basically, I think the children should be honored for, you know, the little ones. It means so much to them when they finish. So they get a trophy. But this year, they're going to get a trophy and a 50th anniversary medal. Oh, wow.
So, 50 years, and you're going to have a special medal. Tell us about that.
It says 5-0, then it has a picture of the island and the 2 runners on it. But it's not an anniversary, because an anniversary would be following. It's 50th annual. New Year's Eve Family Fun Run.
So it's very cool, and I think one of the things that I've enjoyed about it is it the Belle Isle Casino building has become headquarters for a while?
We've been at the Belle Isle Casino. We were at the Broadhead Armory, which the state owned. And that was ideal for the race. When I first got my first sponsor, it was Hughes and Hatchers. Max Pincus and Lonnie were the owners of that clothing chain, a men's clothing chain popular in Detroit. And with their advertising, the casino will only hold 1,000. We went up to 3,000 the year I got my first sponsor.
Wow.
From 500.
Okay.
That was quite a jump. But remember, there was nothing. There was the marathon and New Year's Eve race. There were no Jingle Bell runs, you know, and I started the one in New Baltimore. I actually was a race director for the Turkey Trot for 2 years, 82 and 83. But if 4 nights a week and then working full time, it was too close to New Year's Eve. You know, I couldn't give up my baby.
Well, Little Caesars was a sponsor for a while.
Yes, I got Little Caesars after Hughes and Hatcher closed the stores. I'm trying to find the time span.
Jack Riley?
Yeah.
The 80s. They're back in Jack Riley.
Little Caesars was in the 80s, and one time Mike Illich actually, we brought a wooden stepladder from home, and he got up on the stepladder to shoot the starting gun, and we actually have a picture of that I gave the news.
He was honorary race director?
He was, for 3 years, we had Little Caesars, and then we had Detroit Edison came in. I was without a sponsor a year, and Detroit Edison came in because the person that was in charge of funding for donations, his children did New Year's Eve race. I won't use the name. And he said, he realized I didn't have a sponsor that year. He said, call me next year. And Detroit Edison was a godsend too. They were with me 7 years before they went corporate. And then after that, I was without a sponsor. Tom Henderson was a writer for the News, Free Press back then, and talked to Jack Riley, who was now the head of the Turkey Trot, about New Year's Eve Family Fun Run. And so Mr. Riley called me for an interview and wanted to know about it. And if you ever talk to Mr. Riley, the one thing that Fifth Third stayed with me for 10 years was because it's a family affair.
Okay.
He said he never realized how many people, I'm sorry because I get emotional about this, how many people came up to him and said, you know what, we don't have events like this where we can share with everybody. So that was nice.
That is cool.
Yeah, and then he switched, retired,
Yeah.
and then Fifth Third decided, I think I end with thanks for Bill Leitner in 2017, you know, I was very, very excellent that we got DT in, and a local person, liveinwoodbridge.com, Larry John here in the community, lives in the park, saw the article. He was the first one to call me on the phone, and Mr. John is our main sponsor this year. This would be, it's called liveinwoodbridge.com.
Okay.
It's, he bought a group of homes by Wayne State there and renovated them, and it's his corporate.
Wow. So here we go. We keep a family affair. And the Keith and Kevin Hansen have been somewhat involved over the years.
Yes. The Hansen brothers ran. I have a picture in one of these albums of Keith winning the race. I also got of Doug Curtis's brother and Ella Willis winning when Detroit Parks and Recreation was presenting their award. And the Hansen brothers I called way back when they started their store. They have been so supportive. All the race numbers were made by the Hansens, okay? We never had race numbers that were different numbers. It was the year of the race. Right. That's how when you look at these pictures, like, oh, I know what year that was. Yeah. And they still do the children's numbers. So they have pink and blue, and the adults who are doing the mile have the year on their race number, with the coupon on the back. And they graciously came through in 2017 and 18 with a little more financial backing. They make all of the entry blanks for me that we can pass out at the Free Press Marathon and also the Turkey Trot. And the boys are still hanging in there, and this would be my last full year, and I'm pretty sure it'll be a marriage that and Motive and the Hansons group will take over the New Year's Eve race to keep it a family fun run. And downtown runners are my life support because we need those volunteers, and they will still be the host club. People who it's downtown runners and walkers.
Are there any special things people can look forward to for the 50th?
Well, I'm waiting for the t-shirt company to show me my design that I've changed them. Our shirts are going to be a beautiful sky blue, and it's going to have gold lettering that says the 50th annual just New Year's Eve Family Fun Run with the picture of the island and the boy and the girl running on the island. And then our medal is special. It's not a small medal. It's over 4 inches. And it'll say 50, and that's also done with gold glitter paint. I haven't seen them yet. They're coming. Just so you know that the shirts get delivered to my house, the medals get delivered to my house, the trophies I have to pick up. And the children's trophies all have a gold post on it. Not real gold, of course, but
Jeannie, congratulations on 50 annual New Year's Eve Family Fun Run and Walk events.
thank you.
Thank you.